to have everybody here this morning for us, maybe afternoon for y'all. Today we are talking about defining completion, and we're excited to have everybody join us. So, a couple of things to note before we really get started. Closed captioning has been enabled, so you do have the option to show or hide those depending on your needs. The Zoom Q&A box is open for any questions that you may have. So as much as we love the interaction in the chat, make sure any questions that you have, you ask those in the Q&A box, just so that way they don't get missed. A recording of this session and slide deck will be shared with you in the days following the webinar. And then we'll also share any of those Q&As and additional comments that we've received, as well as any additional resources that may be helpful. But I already see the chat going off, so good to see the interaction that's happening this morning. So let's quickly talk through today's agenda, and we can really get started from there. So first, we'll start by sharing some quick introductions. I know this will be the first time that I've met many of you guys. And then we will dive into what completion means and how to track it. From there, we'll have a demo in the platform, and you can practice alongside us if you have yours open as well. And to finish off, we'll have time for just like a live Q&A discussion and share some additional resources. So a little bit about us. Like I said, I'm new here. My name is Victoria Fulhenshaw, and I am a customer enablement specialist here at D2L. When I say I'm new, I'm not new to D2L, but this is my first time hosting a upskilling session. If you've attended any of our K-12 sessions, you might have seen me host for some of those, and oftentimes I'll help support Q&A there as well. But I'm glad to be joining this side of things. I have my colleagues Renata and Alvaro here with me today. Many of you guys know them. And they'll answer any questions that you may have in the Q&A chat, and they'll drop some links down in the chat itself as well. So before we get too far, and I know many of you guys have probably heard this, but I want to take a moment to clarify some terms for those that are new. You might have heard of D2L or Brightspace before. To clarify, D2L is the company that we work for, whereas Brightspace is the product that we make, which is a learning management system. Your organization might refer to Brightspace as something else, but if you're here, it likely, refers to Brightspace. We also have our community, or our Brightspace community. This is a hub of resources where you can connect with other Brightspace users and seek out additional information on Brightspace. We have a special group for our Bright Ideas upskilling series where we can continue our discussions and you can connect with one another and share any Brightspace tips and tricks. And the link for that group should be in the chat. So I want to take the time to talk about what completion means. You guys are already tracking completion, so you probably already know this, but this is a question that we encounter quite often with some of our customers. It's tricky because there's really no one right answer. There are many different ways organizations can track completion, and there's also different levels of completeness necessary for different kinds of professional learning. So let's say maybe you're doing a training course and you need the learner to complete a test at the end for certification. Or maybe you're hosting some professional learning courses and individuals are looking to gain some soft skills, and you don't necessarily need them to complete every single content topic, but maybe you want to understand how your modules are being received by those learners. Or, what activities are being completed the most often. There's no one right way to track completion, just simply because it's going to mean different things to different people. One thing that is really important with course completion is that your learners understand what it means to complete that individual course, whatever that does mean for your organization. So in past webinars, our teams discussed the importance of an introductory or a welcome module at the start of any professional learning course. This is a great place to lay out the course completion requirements for learners. And it should be very clear to learners, one, why should they complete the course? What value are they getting out of that course? Is it maybe required compliance training, or is it voluntary upskilling? Essentially, like what is it? What is in it for them? The second thing is, what does completion mean? I know we said it's no one thing for any particular person. So, what is required for this particular course? Do they need to complete every piece of content? Do they need to get a certain grade on a quiz? Maybe they need to earn an award. Many of you guys are using awards. Or some of you guys are using checklists. Maybe there's a checklist item that they need to complete. Having that in an overview module helps learners to know exactly what they need to do, and it saves you time too, because you're not getting emails from learners asking what do they need to do to complete that course. Your introductory module should also include just, what the course covers, so a brief overview of what they can expect to see within the modules, as well as an expected workload and time frame. Essentially, how much or how long should it take them to complete this work, and when should they have that work done by? So here we have several tools for Brightspace completion tracking, many of which you guys are already using. I'd say that these are our most popular tools for tracking completion, but this list is definitely not exhaustive. Today, we will be talking about manager dashboard, checklists, and release conditions. So there are many others, and you guys are actually using quite a few that we're not going to be talking about today. So I'd love to hear more about how y'all are tracking completion within Brightspace during that discussion portion later today. But for the meantime, let's take a look in Brightspace. And just for bandwidth, I'm going to turn off my camera for this, but you guys should see my screen in just a second for my workplace wellness course. So we are going to start in this workplace wellness course. And the first thing that I really want to do for this is just turn on my completion tracking tool. This tool is only available to those who have access to Manager Dashboard. So if you have that, you should be able to follow along with us. To find that tool, we will go into our course admin. And then within course admin, you should actually see a button called completion tracking. Once again, this button will only be available once Manager Dashboard is turned on for your organization. You can see when we click on completion tracking that we actually already have completion tracking enabled for this course. But enabling completion tracking is just as simple as clicking on this button. It even warns me that disabling it can lead to loss of completion data for learners that are already in this course. Within completion tracking, we have a couple options. We have a content topic completion or release condition completion. If you choose to go with the content topic completion, this requires learners to visit every content item within the course to complete that course. Whereas the release condition completion tracking option gives you the opportunity to customize which release conditions you'd like students to complete in order to complete the course. So I'll show you what this option looks like. Just like any release condition, you will have to select the condition type. So for this condition type, I know you guys had mentioned that many of y'all are using awards. So we'll do an award earned. In this course, I'm going to select my award. That's the Workplace Wellness Course Completion Award. And this is an award in my course that's already been set up with release conditions. So it will automatically be awarded once learners complete certain activities within the course. This gives my learners the ability to use their prior knowledge to complete the course instead of having to visit every single content topic. We do not recommend switching between the topic and the release condition-based completion tracking while a course is ongoing. So course completion requirements should only be set for those new courses. So I'd like to show you what this looks like within our manager dashboard. So to go to manager dashboard, we'll have to go back to our org homepage. And we'll go under professional learning. Once again, you'll only have access to this if you have manager dashboard turned on in your environment. But what you'll notice that when I go to manager dashboard from my account, that I don't have any information here since I don't actually have anybody that reports to me. So what we're going to do is we're going to log in as someone who does have direct reports. So let's log out of mine. And you guys can meet Elijah. Elijah is a manager in this environment. And when I enter my manager dashboard space here as Elijah, you can see the folks that report to him. We will be exploring manager dashboard deeper during our Bright Ideas session next month. But today we're only focused on completion tracking. So I'm going to click on this learning tab. And you can see the various courses here. And notice that some of these courses state the number of learners who have completed the course, 0 out of 1, 0 out of 4. Or you can notice that some have the how many people were assigned. So 1 person, 2 people, or 5 people. These ones that state just how many people were assigned do not have completion tracking enabled. So let's go into our workplace wellness course. In our workplace wellness, you'll notice that not only can we see when our learners last access those courses, but you can also see what their progress was within that course. And that's because we set that completion tracking on and we had it set for that topic specific. So the next thing I want to show you is how to create a checklist. We've talked about checklists a few times in these Bright Ideas sessions, and I'm actually going to go in as an instructor, Lynn, here. So we have our checklist tool right here in my nav bar. And when I click on there, you'll see that I actually don't have any checklists created currently. Just a note, if you don't have checklists in your nav bar, you should be able to access it through your course admin tool. So let's create a new checklist here. Every checklist should have a name attached to it. And this one is going to be for course completion. And I've also made a little description for it as well. So we have our name, our description, and then we can press save. When I scroll down, we have the option to add categories and items. So our category is going to be our workplace wellness modules. I do only want the one category here, so I'll just press save. But from here, I'd like to add items within that category. We'll press new item. And then these item names are actually the names of my modules within my content area. So the first one is stress at work. Our next one is reduce anxiety. And our last one is handling stress. Sometimes I feel like I need to take this course. So in this, you'll notice that with every item, you'll see that there's a full Brightspace editor here where you can add various types of content and media to these checklists, like images. You can press our insert stuff button and add YouTube links or other additional links from your computer. Play around with these options just to see what works best for you. But there's even the option to add due dates to individual checklist items. Due dates might be great for those longer compliance or enablement courses to give learners a framework on when they should be completing certain modules. So I'm going to press save here. In these situations with checklists, many organizations like to actually have the checklist available after each module within their content tool so learners can check it off as they go. So let me show you how that looks within our content space. So in our content space, we have our modules here. You'll recognize our stress at work, reduce anxiety, and handling stress. Let's go to stress at work. And to add an existing checklist that we already have, we'll just press add existing and press checklist. You'll see that our course completion checklist is right here. And it automatically added down here at the bottom. To make sure that this is available for students or learners to see, you just have to toggle that visibility toggle, and it is now visible. And now learners, when they're going through this module, they can go through the pre-assessment, potentially do additional content, and then check off their checklist here. So real fast, I do just want to show what that looks like from the learner perspective. So one more time, let's log out of here and log in as Angela. I have a lot of personalities today. So we're going to that workplace wellness course as Angela. And Angela can see the checklist in two ways, just like the instructor can. So she can go here into the checklist and see the course completion checklist is here and see how many items she has left to complete. But we can also go into that content area. And you can see that Angela had actually already completed 2 out of the 3 items within this stress at work module. You'll see that she already did the pre-assessment. She has already gone and gotten her congratulations memo, but now all she has left is that course completion checklist. So say she goes into congratulations and then she click next for her checklist and she can go here to complete it. So she'll go ahead and mark off stress at work is done. And for her own completion tracking, it even tells her what time and what date she completed that particular checklist item. This is nice because it not only gives the instructors that information, but it also gives the learners that so they can go back and, keep track of like their own learning. So all that said, let's go back into our slides. As we mentioned before, we have an upskilling community group that you can join to connect with other professional learners that use Brightspace. You can ask questions, post some discussions, and get ideas on new ways to use the platform. So the code or the link for that should be in the chat, or you can scan the QR code. Keep in mind, this will be shared with you afterwards as well. So you guys have access to all the QR codes afterwards. If you've been to one of our sessions before, you've heard about our D2L Champions program. Being a champion gives you the opportunity to receive points for attending webinars, submitting blog posts, and even giving us reviews online. And you can redeem these points for gift cards and additional D2L services. We also have, like I mentioned, the manager dashboard session that's coming up next month. So the link to register for that should be in the chat in just a moment. But we have more sessions that are coming up afterwards until February. So there is a separate registration link for that. And backed by popular demand, we have the course design best practice and some additional reoccurring sessions here. So we would love to see you guys attend those if there are any that you might have missed in the past. And one last thing to note real fast, I wanted to share that D2L Fusion is happening next week. Fusion is D2L's annual learning conference, bringing together educators, administrators, and leaders to explore the latest in teaching, learning, and technology. If you aren't joining us in person, you can actually be a part of the excitement by joining our free virtual experience to live stream our main stage and on-demand sessions. I will personally be there next week, so hopefully I'll get to see some of you guys there. And if you're there, make a point to come say hello. And last but not least, before our discussion, and I see that the chat has been going off while I've been chatting, we do have this survey, and we'd really appreciate it if you could just take a few moments to fill out that survey. You can use the link in the chat or the QR code there. But essentially, you can give us feedback on sessions that you've really enjoyed, sessions that you'd like to see again, or any topics that maybe we haven't done yet that you'd be interested in seeing in the future. And our last thing to note is the discussion. So I'd love to hear, you guys had all mentioned using awards and quizzes and manager dashboard in a greater sense. So I'd love to hear from you guys. What tools are you using, and how are you using them within your organization? What are some challenges that you faced, and what's something that you learned today that you'd be interested in using in the future? So I'm going to try to look at the chat and everything. I have a really small screen right here, but feel free to raise your hand and we can take you off mute as well. But I know, Alvaro, you've also had some experience in the corporate or upskilling environment. So would love to hear from you if you have any thoughts on ways you've done completion tracking as well.
Absolutely. So during my first year as an admin, I remember that I didn't specifically separate it or define what the completion meant for me specifically. So I just went with the basic option that only marked it if they visited the content. I didn't actually think that, okay, my completion metric was certificates. So I swapped that. I added milestone milestone badges per module so that I learned when was I losing students, and then at the end I was able to set up a certificate of completion so that my um, completion tracking was binary. Either yes, they got it, or no, they did, instead of having to go to the topics and having to actually rely on other factors such as they visiting the content, having internet issues, bandwidth, time tracking. I forgot about all of that and just relied on certificates of completion. So always go binary. If it's a certificate, if it's a quiz, if it that they actually filled up a survey, so you have the data handy and don't have to rely on time tracking or on they visiting the topics themselves. That's what I did during my second year, and from there I was able to just get the reports every week, and I saved a whole bunch of time managing that system.
Honestly, that last part that you mentioned, having a system is the thing that is the biggest time saver. There's so many different ways to do completion tracking, especially within Brightspace. And having something that works for you and knowing what that is, that's one of the biggest keys. Um,
Uh,
Definitely, try out new tools, but don't necessarily implement something 100% until you're comfortable with that tool. Alvaro, you're
if
about to say more.
you're not sure on how to tackle it, talk to your CSM. We can help you do a either a persona assessment to help you define what does actual completion mean to you and to your students? It's different. So we have to like align it there to help you save time.
And I want to address something in the chat real fast. I see conversations about the checklist and wishing that it was directly related to that content. The checklist is mostly for kind of like the learners to go and check off their own learning and what they've done. What you can do as an instructor is really keep that content based or change the release conditions to be more specific to what you'd like. Don't necessarily do the release conditions based off of a checklist, but have that checklist for the learners to go and check off their learning themselves just for their own records. But when it comes to your own instructor, completion tracking, rely on the content topic being, received, rely on that quiz being completed. So they have to actually go and complete those activities. They can't just like check off, yes, I took the quiz without taking the quiz. And Gordon brought up, can't they look at the course progress? That is an option for them. It's just some folks, I know myself, despite all of my work being on the screen, I am such like I have to check off a to-do list on paper kind of person. And I know I personally love that on the screen as well, just having like this is what I need to complete. So they could go to course progress, but having the checklist within the content space itself, it just puts it all in one place for them. So it's kind of personal preference there.